If you want to know how Giannis feels, look at what his actions were over the summer.
There were failed trade talks in August. There was a multi-week exclusive negotiating window for the New York Knicks.
Giannis Antetokounmpo expressed questions about the Bucks' ability to truly contend over the summer. As the two sides discussed a path forward, it became clear that there was another place that Giannis wanted to play outside of Milwaukee.
He's starting the season with the Milwaukee Bucks. He made that decision over the summer. It is very clear to the whole league that Giannis' situation in Milwaukee is probably short-term.
Giannis just dropped a straight-up nuclear warning on his future in Milwaukee, and this time it's clear there's no rewind button. Last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo wiped his entire social media clean, deleting almost every post tied to the Bucks like he was erasing a whole chapter of his life. The only things he left behind were his 2021 championship celebration and a few NBA Cup highlights, while everything else disappeared like it never existed. Anyone saying this is random clearly isn't paying attention to how players move in 2024, because this is the digital breakup era, the new way a superstar tells his team, his supporters, and the whole league that he's done pretending things are cool. Giannis just sent a message without saying a word, and it hit louder than anything he's posted all season.
Sources tell me that Giannis Antetokounmpo and his agent Alex Saratas have started open conversations that are active right now with the Milwaukee Bucks about the realities of whether his future is best staying in Milwaukee or the realities of moving on elsewhere.
At the end of the day, I am a winner. I want to be a winner. Contracts, fame, status, comfort zone does not matter to me. What matters at the end of the day, it's where that thing right there. That's what matters. I don't want to be able to get stuck in this lifetime to keep on talking about the same story. Oh, we went to game 6 in the NBA finals, we won, we were down 2-0, we came back, won 4 games. I'm tired of hearing the same story over and over again. I feel like people get stuck.
Just hours after that social media wipeout, Shams Charania dropped the update everyone was scared to hear, confirming that Giannis and his agent are already in active talks with the Bucks about what comes next. And these aren't soft, we'll talk later conversations. These are happening right now, today, and they're serious. At this point, the question isn't if Giannis wants to leave, it's where he's headed and how fast this whole thing goes down. Most fans are just now waking up to the fact that Giannis wants out, but the truth is he's been setting up his escape route since the summer. Back in August, quiet trade conversations were going on behind closed doors. The kind of secret meetings that never hit Twitter, the kind where agents and front office bosses talk in coded language, testing each other without letting anything leak to the world.
This is a results-based business, a results-based situation. Giannis Antetokounmpo has made it clear he wants winning, and so the results have spoken for themselves, and if they keep trending this way, this is just the start for even more hard conversations to come, and also, like I keep saying, the inevitable writing on the wall, as one source told me today.
The New York Knicks were given a private negotiating window that lasted weeks, not days. And that kind of treatment only happens when a player is seriously thinking about bouncing. Giannis basically told Milwaukee he wanted to see what New York was offering, and the Bucks, trying everything to keep their franchise star calm, actually played along. They picked up calls, listened to proposals, and tried to look open-minded while hoping he wouldn't really leave. Then something shifted. Maybe Giannis got nervous. Maybe the Knicks couldn't put together a convincing deal. Or maybe he convinced himself he could give Milwaukee one last run. Whatever the reason, he backed off and agreed to ride out the season as a Buck, showing up to camp, smiling for the cameras, and doing all the picture-perfect superstar moves that made everyone in Milwaukee breathe again. Except he wasn't staying for real. He was buying time. And that clock just hit 0. Jump to October 28th, when Giannis had that huge performance against the Knicks inside Madison Square Garden, dominating plays, blocking shots, talking his talk, and after the game he carried this vibe like, "Milwaukee is where I belong." Reporters brought up the trade rumors and he shut them down on the spot, flipping the whole story in one night. Suddenly, national media started running headlines saying Giannis had closed the door on leaving. But what a player tells the cameras and what they tell their agent behind closed doors are two totally different conversations. Giannis needed everything to cool off so he could focus on hooping without distractions. He performed, delivered, and put on the loyal superstar show, and fans bought it instantly. But the people who really understand the league never believed it for a second. What finally broke Giannis's patience was simple. The Bucks are falling apart right now. Milwaukee is sitting at 9-13, stuck in 11th place in the East. Not even close to the play-in zone. When Giannis plays, they barely scrape by at 9-8, basically an average team. And without him, they're 1-5 and getting hit with losses like it's nothing. This was supposed to be a contender, a squad that fixed everything after signing Miles Turner and calling him the missing link. The front office hyped the whole thing like they'd finally cracked the code, telling Bucks fans the cavalry had arrived. And then reality smacked them in the face when Milwaukee got beat by the Washington Wizards, a team with only 3 wins, a team openly rebuilding for the future. Jordan Poole lit them up, and the Wizards bench was celebrating like they'd just taken home the trophy. Giannis watched his team fall apart in front of him, standing there knowing he's dropping 30+ every night, fighting like crazy, and it still means nothing.
He's looking at a Milwaukee Bucks squad, and he's saying, this is an organization that drafted me, that believed in me, that has been very good to me, that helped me capture a championship because they got me the assets that I needed in the past. But since that time, I've gone to a semifinals, and other than that, I've been bounced out of the postseason, at least 2 times, 3 times. So that's what he's faced with now, and looking at what they're going to be able to do. A Cole Anthony is there, Miles Turner is there, a Kevin Porter Jr. is there, stuff like that. That's not going to win you championships.
What makes this whole situation even tougher for Giannis is the fact that he's playing at a level that barely exists in NBA history. Right now, he's putting up 30.8 points per game on a wild 63.9% shooting from the field. Most players can't even hit 64% of their free throws, yet Giannis is dropping that same percentage on tough drives, contested layups, traffic dunks, and straight-up fearless mid-range jumpers. He's also grabbing 10.7 rebounds and handing out 6.4 assists every night. Giannis is literally the only player in NBA history to average 30 points per game on 60% shooting or better. Not LeBron, not Shaq, not Kareem, not Wilt. And he's doing this for the 3rd straight season. Imagine being that unstoppable and still watching your squad drop 8 out of 10 games. Every night, Giannis shows he's one of the most dominant threats this sport has ever seen. And every night, it still isn't enough because the roster around him can't keep pace. The supporting cast can't defend, can't knock down open looks, and can't close out late-game moments. Milwaukee has fallen apart since their championship run. The 2021 title was supposed to be the start of a dynasty, 5 or 6 years of real contention, but instead, it's been nothing but collapse. Since winning that ring, the Bucks have taken just 1 playoff series in 3 seasons and have been sent home in the first round 3 straight times. And it's not like they were losing to unstoppable squads either. They lost to teams they should have handled. Milwaukee tried everything to fix it. They traded for Damian Lillard, hoping he'd be the second superstar that pushed them back into title territory. But his defense has been rough. Age is starting to show, and the fit next to Giannis has been shaky from day one. Then they brought in Miles Turner, hoping his rim protection and shooting would patch up the front court. But Turner's been inconsistent, and the defense never took the step they promised fans. Milwaukee is stuck with the same core problems they've had for years, just with different role players making the same mistakes. Giannis has watched the organization rotate coaches, swap out role players, shuffle lineups, and make trades, all while telling him every summer, this is the year things change. But nothing has really changed. The front office keeps tightening loose screws instead of rebuilding the machine. And Giannis is looking around thinking, this isn't it. This is never going to work. He's 29, right in the prime of his career, playing the best basketball he's ever played and watching it get wasted on a team that can't even get out of the first round. Giannis has said it plenty of times already. If they're not chasing championships, he's not sticking around just to keep the mood positive. So if Milwaukee finally decides to make a move, where does Giannis go? That's the billion-dollar question every contender is scrambling over right now. Any team trying to get him has to empty everything. Young all-stars, future picks, swap options, and salary pieces just to make the math line up. Let's start with the Knicks since they've been hovering in the background from the jump. The trade framework would likely be centered around Karl Anthony Towns, an all-star big who can score, rebound, and stretch the court in ways that keep the Bucks competitive. Add either Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby, 2 elite two-way wings who could immediately help Milwaukee stay dangerous. Then toss in 3 or 4 unprotected first-round picks and maybe some swaps on top of that. The Knicks would tear down their roster and gamble their whole future if it meant landing Giannis, a true franchise engine who could turn Madison Square Garden into a championship hotspot the moment he walks through the door. The Warriors, meanwhile, are desperate to squeeze every last ounce from the final stretch of Stephen Curry's prime. A wild 3-team deal involving the Lakers could technically work, with Milwaukee getting Jonathan Kuminga, Austin Reeves, Moses Moody, and Dalton Knecht, plus 7 years of Lakers draft assets, including a 2030 unprotected first-rounder. The Warriors would get LeBron James to pair with Curry for one last epic run, and the Lakers would land Giannis to team up with Anthony Davis. It's chaotic, it's messy, and because of salary rules, it's probably never happening. But it's the kind of blockbuster that would shake the entire league. The Spurs version of a pitch is even crazier. Pairing Giannis with Victor Wembanyama. Just picture that. The size, the timing, the defense, the highlight plays. That combo would look like something the league has never seen. San Antonio could offer Milwaukee 2 recent lottery picks, Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, plus either Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson for salary purposes, and then stack the deal with first-round picks all the way through 2031. The Spurs are already sitting fourth in the West with a young squad, and adding Giannis would instantly throw them into the contender zone. But that's where the dilemma hits. Wembanyama is 20 years old and set up to be a superstar for more than a decade. So why rush? Why dump long-term assets when they could just grow the slow, steady way instead of fast-tracking it? All these trade ideas are nothing but conversation fuel until Milwaukee actually decides to make a move. And that decision sits entirely on general manager John Horst. This is his situation to deal with, because he's the one who built this roster, pulled the Lillard trigger, brought in Miles Turner, and sold the city the idea that this team was ready to compete at the highest level again. Now it's blowing up on him. The pressure is all on his shoulders because if he refuses to trade Giannis and this drags out, it gets ugly. Giannis could go public, could ease up on the court, or worst of all, he could leave in free agency and Milwaukee gets zero in return. This moment feels different than past rumors. Giannis has always been careful, always played the diplomat. Not anymore. That social media wipe wasn't quiet. It was a loud message to the world. And once a superstar steps across that line, there's no smoothing it over with a press conference or a players-only talk. The trust is gone, the relationship is cracked, and the only realistic next step is a trade. The NBA trade deadline hits in February, and that's when everything smashes together. Every day the clock moves forward, the pressure gets heavier, teams hover, fans speculate, and Giannis watches his legacy drift with every loss. He's already a champion, already a 2-time MVP, but if he stays in Milwaukee and spends the rest of his prime on a middle-of-the-pack squad, that becomes the story. The superstar who stayed so loyal it hurt his own career. That's not the legacy Giannis is chasing. Every contender is prepping a pitch right now, crunching the numbers, building trade frameworks, and checking in with Milwaukee to see what it would take. Landing Giannis doesn't just boost your team, it reshapes the entire NBA landscape because whichever franchise gets him becomes a favorite the moment the ink dries. Moves like this change front offices, build coaching legacies, and stay in league history for decades. Milwaukee is staring at a nightmare situation, losing their franchise icon and possibly getting less than full value because the entire league knows Giannis wants a new start. The Greek Freaks chapter in Milwaukee is reaching the end, and at this point it's not if, it's only when and where. And when that trade finally drops, the basketball world is gonna explode with shock, because this isn't just another star switching teams. This is a generational talent in his prime, choosing his next era. Wherever Giannis lands, that squad instantly becomes the biggest threat in the title race. February is coming, and the Giannis Antetokounmpo era in Milwaukee is about to turn into history, fast.